What's going on, guys? Car Review Guys here. My name is AJ, and this week we have the 2024 Ford F150 Raptor R. That's right, we got the high horsepower Raptor. We will go over some of the differences between the Raptor and the Raptor R. Not all of them, but we will hit some of the highlights. Next video, 5 things to love, 5 things to improve. This is the full review. And over 21,000 subscribers, almost 22,000. Appreciate every single one of you. Also, on a side note, just sold one of my personal cars and we're getting another car, so be sure to stay tuned for that. The Supercar is leaving and we are getting something else. We are doing a build for the first time on the channel. So, without further ado, if you are new to my channel, here's the layout in case you want to skip through any different little sections. We are going to start with the cinematic. That is usually 60 seconds or less. Then we are going to go over the exterior with stats, figures I feel like you guys want to know. Then we are going to jump into the interior, talk through some of that stuff. Then we'll be taking it on a drive. So without further ado, let's roll. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that cinematic. All right, starting with some of these stats and figures. This Raptor R has a 5.2 liter 8-cylinder pushing 720 horsepower and 640 pound-feet of torque. Transmission is a 10-speed auto. Drivetrain is a 4x4. Curb weight 5,950 pounds roughly, which is going to be pushing it from a very impressive 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. Towing capacity is a little less on the Raptor R. You're looking at about 8,700 pounds, so if you're going to need some more towing, this may not be for you. But the regular F150 V6 twin turbo has 14,000 pounds towing, and the regular F150 V8 has 13,000 pounds towing, just so you have a rough idea in the differences. MPG 10 city, 15 highway, and a combined average of 12 MPGs. Gas tank size is 36 gallons. Now, vehicle dimensions, 19.3 feet in overall length. Width, you are looking at a very girthy truck, 7.25 feet. Ground clearance on the Raptor R is about 13 inches, which is roughly an inch more than the standard Raptor. Pricing starts for the base Raptor at $81,230. The tester today, we are looking at right about $113,640, including the destination charge. So I've already talked about some of the things that are different on a Raptor R versus the regular Raptor. The one thing I did not mention is horsepower. So I did on the Raptor R, which is the 720. Now, if you go with the regular Raptor, you're looking at roughly 450 horsepower. So there is a massive jump in the Raptor R. Now, other things to touch on, obviously LED lights basically everywhere. You have 37-inch tires. They are not small. Hidden behind them on this truck, and again, I'm not going to claim to know all about it. However, it does have dual valve Fox shocks, which from my understanding is on the Raptor R, and I don't know all the details behind it. I do know the suspension is slightly different because the motor is heavier in the Raptor R versus the Raptor, and they're supposed to perform really well as far as these shocks go. So I know that is definitely a highlight for this truck. I just honestly cannot explain all of the differences on that. Now, there obviously is skid plating on this vehicle as well. You have some nice step bars here. You have a 360 camera. You have lights that can project out here. Keyless entry, which is located on the front doors only. It is not on the rear. I do wish it was on the rear, honestly. As you can see, the red R, and if you don't know what R is, it basically just means racing. But yeah, overall, I think that's just about it. You have dual exit exhaust here, and you can change it with a push of the button, and it does sound really, really good. So, speaking of which, while we're back here, let's do a few revs in the different modes. So, before we do that, let me just show you the different modes to choose from. So, if we come in here, there is a button located right here. Just hit OK on that. All right, so we can simply press right here. It's in quiet, normal, sport, and Baja. So you got different modes to choose from. Let's put it in quiet. All right, and then I'm gonna bring you guys back here and just have a listen. Definitely noticeable. Hopefully it comes through on audio. I do have a Rode mic, so trying to give it the best chance I can, but it sounds really, really good. Again, make sure you're subscribed because I am going to post a short as well for a cold start. Ooh, the cold starts sound really, really good. All right, so I test every vehicle, whether it's easy to get into or not. So let's test the rear first, and then we will test the front. I will say you can definitely notice the extra inch being at roughly 13.1 ground clearance, because you do definitely have to step in. I am 5'9" if you are new to my channel. And yeah, you got a grab handle right here. Basically just step up. I mean, it is easy. They put it in a good spot. It's up there. Now that we are back here, my head has probably 1.5 inches roughly sitting straight up and down. This is where my seat sits to drive, and I can touch, barely. So you can see there is a good amount of space there, probably a good 10 inches, 8 inches, I don't know, somewhere in there. A lot of space back here. You have heated seats, you have your vents, you have some cup holders. And then, of course, if we bring this down, got some more cup holders with an armrest. And then you can see the Raptor R located there, and you got like an Alcantara and some leather mixed in. Seat back pockets, and then over here we have, I don't know, kind of like a cup holder, I guess. Alcantara, soft touch, and then up here is even soft touch as well. Got some stitching. Very, very nicely done. Time to test getting into the front. Again, grab handle right there. Makes it a lot easier having that grab handle. Just step right up. Definitely use the step bar, at least if you're kind of short like me, is what it is. But yeah, pretty easy to get in, tons of headroom. And then the one thing I didn't show back there, if we hit this button, it is a full panoramic roof. I think I have to hit it one more time. Yep, there we go. Stops halfway back, pretty standard. If I come back here, hopefully you can see, I mean, it literally is like the full roof. It looks really, really nice. Taking a look at the door, very similar to the rear, just has the addition of your memory seating, which is nice. There is 3 settings for that, and it does have power folding mirrors. Let's take a look at the steering wheel. It does have lane centering. You have adaptive cruise control, voice command, and then obviously your volume, seeking, and then as already mentioned, this is for your exhaust. Now up here you can change your steering and suspension. So if we hit the suspension button, you can see there is normal, sport, and off-road. Generally I'm in normal, but there is a vast difference as far as like how it absorbs bumps and everything else. Then if we hit this button for the steering, you have normal, you have comfort, and you have sport. I do find myself in comfort quite a lot as far as the daily driving goes. Over here, looking at the infotainment screen, it is crisp, it is clean, it is responsive, so that is good. Up above, we are going to go ahead and press that. You can see you've got the 360 camera. This is out in front of us right now. So they've done really good as far as that goes. It's crystal clear. Right here is your drive mode selector. So if we come up here to the middle and I were to turn this knob, we'll go all the way to the left first. So you've got slippery, you have tow haul, you have sport, normal, off-road, Baja, and rock crawl. So there are a plethora of different modes you can have. Has cool little animations for each one of them, which is also pretty neat. Up above here, we do have all of our garage buttons, so it is nice that we do have that as well. You have heated seats, you have cooled seats, you have a heated steering wheel, you have a wireless charge pad, couple different chargers. This can obviously, you can just press that button, it'll fold flat, and then you have basically the workbench, if you will. Couple more chargers. You have two different things that you can go into there for like glove box area. And then up above, you have your sunglasses holder. And coming down just to touch on center console, it is absolutely ginormous. And right now I do have the heads-up display off, but there is a heads-up display located right there. I think that pretty much covers everything in the interior. I mean, we could go through all the different settings and a ton of different things in the screen. I generally don't do that because it's something you could do on your own time if you were serious about going to get this vehicle. I want to give you some input, and now this is coming from, if you're new to my channel, supercar owner. I've owned all kinds of different things. I have owned several trucks as well, never a performance or off-road based truck. So that's kind of like my opinion, and then obviously I get a new vehicle every single week, so I'm in and out of a lot of vehicles, but I try to compare this to things, apples to apples, right? I'm not going to compare apples to oranges. So without further ado, let's get this R out on the road. Generally, I start off with my first impression. My first impression of this vehicle was honestly whenever it was getting delivered to my house, and oh my goodness, that sun is bright. Nonetheless, I could hear it pulling up. Like, usually I can't hear any of the vehicles pulling up, and then, you know, I go and get it or whatever, but I could hear this literally pulling in my driveway, and I did not know, I knew like roughly like when the guys were coming, you know, like within like an hour or two time slot, but I didn't know, and I could literally hear. I was like, oh, they're here. And so then the first time that I remote started it, I was just blown away, honestly. Like, it sounds incredible. Hopefully the audio will turn out. Again, I have a Rode mic, so hopefully it'll turn out. Let's put it in sport, and let's downshift just a little bit. Like, it just sounds good. It really, really does. Let's touch on blind spots from a daily perspective, if this is going to be a daily vehicle for you. Over to our left, the pillar is kind of far back and the headrest is kind of in the way, so just be a little bit careful. It's not terrible. Again, I'm a supercar owner and have owned Camaros and all kinds of stuff. The blind spots are terrible. This is way better than that, but I will say there is a little bit of a blind spot there, so just be careful. Over to the right, I mean, not hardly anything at all, to be honest with you. So the first time, I've kind of like eased my way into the throttle on this, because again, it's no joke. It's 720 horsepower. It is enough to absolutely get you in a bind if you're not being smart about it. If you're just going to just smash the throttle, and you could get yourself in a bind, is all I'm saying. So I've kind of like eased my way into it, and man, every time that I've laid into it a little more, like, this truck just has more and more, and it's like, how a vehicle this big goes as fast as it does is impressive. The other thing to note is just how good the brakes are as well, for the size of the vehicle, right? Like, it's not stopping as good as like a supercar, but it shouldn't. Like, here we go. Let's get on it just a little bit here. We'll go easy till we're straightened out, and then let's lay in it. Oh, it slid just a little bit. I mean, this thing is no joke. I am telling you, it is no joke. That is insanity. So from a daily aspect, it really drives like a normal vehicle. Like any other F-150, that's basically how it drives. The only thing that is different are honestly the tires. I spent some time on the freeway and you can feel it shakes just a little bit. You can even visibly see the wheel. They're knobby tires that are made for off-road. If you're going to daily it and not take it off-road, change out the tires. The thing will be money. All right, I've got 3 categories for noise. We are coming up to the cattle guard, so it not only does noise, but also does suspension. So let's see how this thing does just in normal comfort. Here we go. That's wild. Like it literally almost just glided over it. I didn't hardly move like at all. Noise-wise, actually way better than I thought, because again, these tires, you can hear them a little bit. So I'm actually kind of surprised on that front. Now, I've got 3 categories as far as noise goes, right? You've got powertrain, which you've got the good one in this one. You can definitely hear the exhaust, but like right now, I just took it to quiet. Hopefully that turns out on camera. It's a big difference in person for sure. So quiet, and I just went to sport, back to quiet. With that said, so you have the powertrain, and like I said, the good thing is the exhaust note sounds really good. You can hear a little bit of the motor too, which is nice in this vehicle. That's what you want. And then you have wind noise, and then you have tire noise. Tire noise, I've already talked about, a little on the noisy side, as expected for these tires. Wind noise. Can't hardly hear it at all. It's really maintained. Even on the freeway, 75 mile an hour, no problem. Don't hear any of that. Like I said, if you're going to be dailying it and not really taking it off-road, maybe you take it off-road from time to time, but you're mainly going to daily it. For me, I would just switch out the tires. Like I would just have 2 pairs. Like I would have these for the off-road, then I would just get a more daily friendly tire, and this thing would be just money. Like that would be my setup, because the horsepower in this, it's a fun one, no doubt. So we've talked about the suspension a little bit. I just put it in sport mode. Let's see how it does some turning here. Let's take it at 20 miles an hour. No surprise, being this vehicle, a little bit more ground clearance, all this stuff, it's got a little roll to it, right? But it's not terrible. Like the suspension absorbs pretty good, especially if you kind of like hit the throttle or feather it just a little bit. The back end will almost, I don't want to say drift, that's not the right term, but you can feel it just a little bit kind of slide. But the front, because 4x4 kicks in sport mode, it starts pulling you forward through the turn. So yes, it's got a little bit, but it's just the engineering. It's really, really good in the different modes. If you're looking for a high horsepower truck, or if you're not a Dodge fan and you want a TRX killer, this may be the vehicle for you. This thing absolutely is, I mean, it's honestly for me like the ultimate daily driver. It's spacious. To me, it doesn't feel hard to drive, even though we're up in the air. Like I've heard a few reviewers like, getting in parking spots doesn't, like, to me, I haven't had a single issue. Like I can fit this thing in any parking spot, even though it is wider. That is true. I just don't feel it. It just, honestly, I think it's very, very daily friendly. The only thing I would change are the tires if you're going to daily it. Past that, this thing's money. It is absolutely money, and I think it's going to hold value really well too, being an R. Time will tell, but I do think so. Next video, 5 things to love, 5 things to improve. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.